Friends, we should follow the principle that those who are here on time should not be punished for those who are not here on time. Particularly as chief guest of the event was here at 3. So first of all, let me introduce myself and welcome all of you. My name is B.Yerram. I am the CEO of the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation as well as the director of the Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Contemporary Studies, which is a think tank affiliate of the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. We work on several policy-related themes. One of them is constitutional values and democratic institutions. Another one is governance and development. The third is, which is where this function fits, is growth with employment. And then we have environment, natural resources, and sustainability. And the fifth theme is India's place in the world. We have a number of both eminent visiting fellows as well as resident senior fellows. Some of them are present here. And then we have a number of younger associates who together work with experts in different fields to organize, to stay in touch with, first of all, what are the issues, sort of continue to participate in the discourse on the topic through participation in events like this, through reading, writing, and then based on those areas which are hitherto unexplored in literature, we then either commission some research or we do some research ourselves. So it was a wonderful coincidence. Dr. Raju I have known for the last 25 years, but had lost contact for the last few years. So it was a wonderful coincidence that we had ourselves in our work on growth with employment identified the area of MSMEs as a focus area because of its employment implications. And also because that sector has suffered a lot due to a number of events. One was the opening up of the Indian economy, so the whole regime of subsidies and licensing and canalizing, which offered some degree of protection, that was broke down. But in the meantime, the competencies to survive in a competitive market and the ecosystem for that hadn't come in place. So there was a lot of mortality and sickness due to that, which is what Dr. Raju has established a very innovative institution for that. Of course, you may know that he is a career banker, started with State Bank of India, but then because of his thoughtfulness, he took the academic route. Among others, he was a professor at the National Academy, the Shastri National Academy in Missouri, and but right now his most important innovation is the Telangana Industrial Health Clinic Limited. And I wanted to note the word limited because it indicates that it's being done as a corporate effort. And it's an entity that has been established by the Telangana government, but with the specific purpose of turning around a large number of sick industries which are there, not just in Telangana, they're all over the country. But because B.Yerram Raju lives in Hyderabad, he's starting there. So he's simultaneously he's been writing this book which we'll be launching today, and I'm really grateful that Secretary MSME Dr. A.K. Panda personally accepted the invitation to launch the book, which shows how important it is in this scheme of things. And of course, as you know, the MSME ministry has been at the forefront of a lot of efforts to both promote as well as provide guidance to the sector. And most recently, in the last 5 years, the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, which was an attempt to channelize bank credit in a more systematic way to MSMEs of all sizes, from shishus to taruns, has been, it's a major effort by the government. We ourselves have been researching that, and so we have some critiques and some suggestions for the way forward. And we always believe that as policy analysts, our job is not only to criticize, because what do we do with criticism as a nation? Our job is to help build better policies and do that with the understanding of the real life constraints that institutions in a democratic framework face, of multiple accountability, pulls and pressures and so forth. So we want our inputs to also be realistic and not just be idealistic. So we're very, very thankful to you for accepting this invitation, not only to launch the book, but participate in the discussion that will happen. And then we have two panelists whom I'll introduce separately when the panel happens. So with that, may I hand over?
Speak about the book.
Yes. Okay. So, B.Yerram, would you please do the honor of introducing the book? Please. Yeah. So, though I know B.Yerram for many years, but I basically have met him as the whole force behind the famous Scotch Foundation. He's taken that work, particularly financial inclusion work, to a completely new orbit. But I'll let you speak a bit about that as well as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for this great introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and my scholar friend, Dr. B.Yerram Raju. In honor of the book that is to be released, we're all gathered here. Of course, my greetings to Dr. Panda to have graced the occasion, and of course, my old friend, Vijay. In fact, SME as a subject is nothing new to us. All of us know that if we start talking in terms of, or otherwise, let me put the cart before the horse. As to, there's a lot of literature which is published for MSMEs. There's a lot that exists. What is new in the book? There has to be something absolutely phenomenal, which would have, which a reader like you and me would be looking forward to when we start turning the pages. Needless to say that the MSME as a sector has been one of the largest contributors to the nation's GDP. Also needless to say that the largest employer as well. So that's one dimension which the book brings about. That having gone through his own experiences as the very opinions matter, the first line of Dr. Reddy's comments, that the book is a distilled account of personal and professional experience of the author. That precisely is what I stand for, because many literatures have been written and have been written only from the perspective of the secondary research or otherwise wherever you travel. Some anecdotes picked up from there, but hardly anything from the personal experiences. If you go through the book, towards the end, there are several case studies which have been included, which is remarkable stuff. But at the same time, when you just look at the case studies, people talk about what works. This book also captures what failed, because there is a learning in what did not work, so that those expensive mistakes can be taken care of. Also certain anecdotes, which is, I go back to several years when my chance meeting with Vijay on the lawns of India Habitat Center. And he said that, yes, I know that you guys are doing something. I said it goes exactly the same way I also feel. And we walked around the streets around India Habitat Center, because he said that these are all my beneficiaries. Why don't you speak to them and find out as to what has been their experience? I'm not in the picture. And the stories that we gathered at that time, some people had rosy tales to share and some others were the critics. Rosy tales is what no one likes to talk about. Criticism is something which goes right on the headlines of all the national dailies, for which we don't stand for. So if you have to look at the glass half full and glass half empty, then these are the beacons of hope, which are the MSMEs of India. Of course, there are problems, which is what the book captures very well. In the foreword itself, it says that there are several problems which MSMEs face. I'll just list out 2-3 of them, which are on top of everybody's recall. Everyone says that, oh, they do not have access to credit. All right, understood? They never had access to credit. Banks are not very willing to come forward and lend them. Second is, oh, they have access to the markets, why don't they go and list themselves on Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange? A, they do not have access to credit. B, they do not have the credit history with the bank. And how will they go and list on the Bombay Stock Exchange? This is not the time of 1950s, 1940s and the 50s, when I would like to quote this example from Reliance. I mean, of course, the book also talks about startups. The biggest startup in the country today is Reliance. Because when Dhirubhai Ambani went to the bank, he was shown the door. He said, the kind of business that you're in, we can't even pledge 5 paisa behind it. So he went to the markets. He said that I will go and look for 1,000 people and tell them to invest in my vision and my dream. And when he listed on the exchange, it was oversubscribed by many million times. And he sat at the Bombay Stock Exchange exit, signing all the share certificates personally by hand. So he made each and everyone stakeholder in the success that Reliance is today. Once it is done, all banks come forward. Why did you take money from us? Why did you tell us earlier? Hum aapko paisa de dete. But that wasn't the case. I'll give you one more example. I mean, it's drawing, no comparison there, but two extremes. There was one MSME I came across. Again, I'm sharing my own experience, which is what Dr. Raju was also, to a great extent, captured in his book. There was this poor fellow in Kanpur. He joined a canteen and he was there as doing some menial jobs. 1,000 rupees as salary, which was split into 4 installments paid to him over 1 month and sometime delayed even that. He ran away from there after getting exploited for 5 years, came to Delhi with only one vision, that I will set up my own business. He did that one day. Today he has a big contract. He's become a big contractor. He runs several canteens in several ministries all across the country. But this is not the story. He said, the way I suffered, I will not want my employees to suffer. Namely, if anybody is in the family way, given 6 months paid leave. It doesn't happen anywhere. When he was talking to me, his tears started rolling down. He said, when my wife was pregnant, I was not given leave. And my neighbor had to take care of her. I do not want anybody else to suffer. Second, till the children are age of 10, I will pay for their education. Fair enough. They will be given life insurance as well as medical insurance from the company's side. Fair enough. So he said that this is my CSR. I do not adopt villages. I do not go to people. But this is how I work. And can you imagine what is the size of the company? 80 lakhs. How much would he be feeding others and how much would he be feeding his own children? It is a matter of imagination. He is a micro enterprise, registered. And towards the end he started crying. He said, till date, I have not got a single pie from the bank. He even went to Gujarat, where he was eligible for a loan up to 10 lakhs. Even there he did not. So, in the book itself, Dr. Raju says very clearly that this is something I am going to be held responsible for bringing up certain fallacies within the system which otherwise people refrain from talking about. Talking about the emerge and the Bombay Stock Exchange, more than 500 companies have been listed so far. The market cap, their net worth is calculated at somewhere around 9,000 crore rupees. But if you talk about the capital investment, which is what these companies would have done, along with others who are already on the way, is 10 times the size of Indian economy. It's almost $10 trillion. Do we recognize it? So these are the final details which the book brings about. I'll give you another example. We talk about innovation. As Indian corporates, we are not the owners of innovation. We are innovators. How? There is one MSME in, it's a 45 odd crore company, I won't name it. They are into robotics. They manufacture robotic arms which are used worldwide in the auto factories. If I tell you the name, you say I never heard of it. They are innovating and supplying to others to add value to their business rather than adding value to the equity, which is what they have brought to the Indian soil. Their name does not exist anywhere. It's the stamp of the manufacturer on behalf of which they are the OEMs. So MSMEs today are not doing any kind of value creation for the Indian economy. Again, as I said, they have innovated, but they are not the owners of innovation. A similar example I give you. We talk about a large ecosystem today that has been created, spurring all these startups for the defense manufacturing. You will be amazed to know there are 8,000 SMEs which are into defense manufacturing in the country. If we have such a large base, then why is it that we did not have defense manufacturing 5 years before? Why is it that we are talking about it only today? They are innovating, but they are not owners of that innovation. One example I give you, everyone has heard of Bofors gun. No, every child in the country knows Bofors. The shells are imported from across the world, primarily from an Israeli company. You know that trigger to the shell is manufactured by this 5 crore company in Ethiopia. Do you know that? How is it that we bring the MSMEs? We say they are engines of growth. It remains in paper. They are the engines of growth, they are the real growth. If 25% of GDP is being contributed by MSMEs, and they are the, almost like 40-45% employers, 116 million workforce across the country, is not a small, not a mean achievement. Talking of Mudra, everyone talked about Mudra a few years ago and they tom-tommed it. Then came last year when they said 12,000 crore rupees NPA has happened in Mudra. And media went berserk, beating Mudra down that no, this is one scheme which is not. It's causing a whole lot of shake-up in the lending sector. But did anyone look at the glass half full? Because glass, once it is there, it will always be half empty. The flip side is that Mudra created more than 1.77 crore jobs in the first 2 years. And that was the Scotch report. Simultaneously, there was a report which said that 1.2 crore jobs have been created. That happened after we released our report. But the interesting part in our report was these are the direct jobs. 5.44 crore direct and indirect jobs have been created as a result of Mudra only. And first 2 years was a moratorium period. If that was the lending done, these people would have only started returning the money or gone for a second tranche in the third or the fourth year. So where did the NPA happen? So it's easy to beat down the MSMEs. Not that everything is hunky-dory at the MSMEs end itself. This also is captured very well in the book. Which is, they love to operate under the radar. They have least disclosures. They have at the same time, no corporate governance, and they are family or individual control. They do not want to let go of the control. So if these practices are followed, then why will anyone lend them? But the moment it is taken care of, then the lending comes easy. So this is exactly the revolution in the name of startups in India which has started happening. There were 8,000 startups in the years 2007 and 8. The number today is upwards of 80,000. And the kind of money which has got invested into these startups, I'm not talking about the startups which failed. There's a larger number that failed. They did not take off. The money is down the drain. But a larger number is something which may still be struggling. These startups still have not got even a single pie invested by a bank. This is all the venture fund. It's all investors. And this will be your and my imagination put together as to how many billions of dollars have been invested into Indian startups. Even though one goes on to list on the exchange, not that all problems get sorted out. There are differential systems. For an MSME after or an SME after listing, you have to be trading in the market. But the caveat there is that it has to be a lot of minimum 1 lakh. While I'm free to invest 10,000 rupees in Reliance, for MSME, I have to have minimum lot of 100,000 rupees. I do not want to put my money at stake. So there is minimum investment happening. So all the stocks are trading there only. Second, a small and medium enterprise, you cannot offer ESOPs to your employees. So this is something which needs to be taken care of. If we really have to give a push to the sector, so there are certain anomalies within the system which have to be taken care of. Third, and even more starking, after having listed, you have an opportunity to go to the main board. But in order to list first, you have to shell out 35 lakhs. For an MSME, to shell out 35 lakhs is a huge decision. That just may write off a couple of years entire profitability. And there is then a problem of which is what the trades, bill discounting. Then you have a problem of the payments getting delayed over 180 days. So there is no cash credit. So MSMEs get stuck. They said we will list tomorrow. Let's take care of today's problem. As a result of which, the sector continues to suffer. Whole lot of literature which has been published is scattered, and at the same time talking about one part or another of the elephant. This book takes a holistic view of the sector and makes recommendations for a long-term correction in the economy, particularly from the perspective of the small and medium enterprises. If we say that India is going to be a 5 trillion economy by 2024, it would be anyone's imagination if it's 25% of India's GDP comes from MSMEs. What is the share they are going to have?
50% they're talking about. 50% they're talking about.
So if that is what it is at the current rate, I leave up to you that will this be a reality or will it be a misnomer? It's not going to happen.
It will be reality.
That's what we are gunning for. We are gunning for 10 trillion economy by 2030. Modi ji runs faster than anybody else. So he said that make it 5 trillion but by 2024. So we are all convinced that it is going to happen. We are all convinced at the same time that this is a realistic goal. If we put all the pieces together at the right spot, this may be achieved faster than expected. So with this, I would say that for the beginners, this book will go as a reckoner. For the policymakers, this book will go as a prescription. For the students and the researchers, this would be a rich resource they can delve on. And why is it important and distinguishes itself from the regular run-of-the-mill books? This is knowledge coupled with wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, very well put. The combination of Dr. B.Yerram Raju's practical experience as a banker and his thoughtfulness as a teacher, as an academic economist, that combination is what makes this book very, very special. Yesterday I was in a flight from Hyderabad to Delhi, and just the day before evening I got the book from him. So I thought I'll have about 2 hours to read the book. Fortunately, my flight got diverted to Jaipur. So I was in the plane for 6 hours. And so I really managed to read the book thoroughly. And I was telling him this afternoon over lunch that, it's full of so many practical recommendations. Of course, he is consulted, he's not saying all the wisdom is from him. He's taken the wisdom from several other Panda report. But it's been nicely compiled and interspersed with case studies as you mentioned. So let me introduce once again, because many people come afterwards, Dr. A.K. Panda, who is currently Secretary, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Dr. Panda is an Indian Administrative Service Officer from Odisha, Panda. He is, as you can see from the accolade before his name, also has a PhD and in economics at that. So, if I'm not wrong, from the University of Southern California, sir? Yes. So once again, in our civil service, we always had this combination of scholar practitioners, and we have one of them here. So, no one more appropriate, both in terms of your current capacity as well as your training as an academic economist, to comment on the book and to launch it. How would you like to launch it, Dr. B.Yerram Raju? Would you like to? We have the yes, yes.
Sir,
Come,
sir, please ask.
By the way, Dr. Raju, in case you don't know, you're on Facebook Live, so there are several hundred people watching this right now. So don't be sort of misled by just the people in the hall. There are probably people all over India who are watching. Sir, yes, if you'd like to. Yeah, and also not necessarily only about the book, but about the policy.
Dr. Raju, Mr. Mahajan, and I mean, it's such a good introduction to the book. I mean, I haven't been able to go through the book, so. But I have learned something from Dr. Raju because of our interaction quite a few times in the last couple of years that I have been there in the ministry. I think MSMEs have been the flavor of the season, if I can put it this way. For the last 2 years at least, I have been seeing this. Now, why I'm saying this? Because when the GST was launched, it was actually the MSMEs who had to come from the informal setup to the formal setup. I think that was the most transformational change which happened. And I don't know how many of you know this, out of a total of 1.25 crore some entities which are registered in GST and now, an overwhelming majority of them are actually MSMEs. I was told almost 1.14 crore, 1.15 crore. Now it says, it speaks actually volumes. Now these MSMEs who are in the informal sector are now gradually coming to the formal setup, which helps them to kind of have their credit history done, I mean, gradually. But more importantly, now we know where are these people. Earlier we didn't know. I mean, last June when we had one international conclave, many of the ambassadors and SMEs who came from various countries actually asked us that, where are your SMEs? I mean, suppose we want to have a joint venture with them, we want to have technology transfer, we want to really import their stuff. I mean, how do we know? We also have a database which is called Udyog Aadhaar Memorandum, where we have 78 lakh entities who are registered with us. Now, what should we do next? I mean, we all recognize, and as Mr. Kusharan also talked about, the potential that they have, and the problems and the various challenges that they face. I mean, every time we say, the challenges are access to credit. I would say not just access to credit, but access to timely credit and cost-effective credit. So that the capital cost has to be less. It's quite ironic that the SMEs generally source their credit, at a very high rate of interest. Now, Mudra was a very big intervention by the government. But now I would also like to tell you there are many other things that the government has been really doing in the last few years, which has actually quietly but steadily has been doing something which is trying to make a difference. One of the examples would be the credit guarantee scheme. The credit guarantee scheme actually gives guarantee to the credit flow to micro and small enterprises. And this scheme that our ministry we handle, the total annual credit guarantee which was being extended to micro and small enterprises used to hover around 19,000 odd crores for the entire country's micro and small enterprises. Now, last year we decided that not just the scheduled commercial banks, but the non-banking financing companies also would be made eligible to, because they are also present. They are also giving credit support to the micro and small enterprises, but they were not eligible to really utilize this credit guarantee. Last year we made them eligible, and we did a few other things also. And last year we'll be happy that this credit guarantee, which was around 19,000 odd crores, last year it went up by 58% to 30,168 crores last year. It just jumped. It actually involved credit flow to 4,35,000 odd micro and small enterprises. This year we are planning, we have given some kind of a target of around 50,000 crore. So that 50,000 crore worth of credit flow should be guaranteed to the scheduled commercial banks and also NBFCs. Now, these are being done quietly. Many people don't know about that. But the point is, this is definitely helping the MSME sector. I'm not saying for a moment that this is enough, because we are now looking at 1 lakh crore. That's the kind of thing which has to be done, much more than that maybe. So to do that, you have to have not just the SMEs, you have to also, not just the credit flow, but you have to also tell them what is the kind of technology that they require, for the technology upgradation and technology, all that stuff. Because what Dr. Raju started as a Telangana Industrial Health Clinic is quite interesting. I mean, they say, if any particular entity, any MSME starts experiencing sickness, when you feel sick, you go to a doctor. The doctor actually does some tests and then diagnoses what's wrong with you. Whether you are having food poisoning or you are having, But for MSMEs, who does that? An MSME actually develops some kind of a sickness or something, is not able to repay the EMIs of the loan that he gets or she gets. What happens thereafter? Now, Dr. Raju, with his long experience with the banks, came up with this idea that, maybe if a group of professionals go and examines and literally visits the MSME, examines the whole business process, and can recommend a few things, that is going to salvage the situation, and people are going to come out of that incipient sickness. Now, that's how they have started, and it's a very, very good idea. And I think, I was just wondering, and this has been discussed also at the highest level with the RBI, with the bankers and all that. I think the bankers, all of them, can actually spend a very, very minuscule amount of its, whatever, credit support that they're giving in identifying some groups of professionals and experts who can actually go and help them. They may not necessarily really require more money, to come out of that problem. There could be something very, very small little thing, which this person may not be knowing. And as we all know, if you ask me what is the biggest challenge that the MSMEs face, all over the world, it is actually access to information. The information asymmetry, the access to information. Information about technology, information about low-cost credit, information about skilled manpower, where do they source them, information about markets, information about logistic cost, whole lot of things. And I guess we all have to do a lot. If we really want them, as Mr. Gusran was talking about, they contribute. In fact, they contribute around 29 to 30% to the whole GDP as per the last, where the large part comes from the service sector. 45% to the exports. But if you look at the number of SMEs who are directly registered as exporters, are quite small. The number I'm talking about, who are directly exporting, are quite small. So what exactly is happening? Their products and services are being exported by large export houses, by large entrepreneurs, corporates. And in the process, two things are happening. One, the SMEs don't really get the value for the product. That if he or she exports directly, the kind of money that they will get, they are not getting it. And number two, they are also not able to have access to information about world markets. Which is going to sell in which country at what price. These are the kind of things that they don't know. So that is why our ministry, we have started this process maybe very soon. We are doing something. I don't want to discuss all that now. But we are seized of this particular fact that this is what is required. We want some kind of a digital platform where the SMEs can have access to this huge mine of information. Now this information are all scattered here and there. If I'm an SME working somewhere in, let's say in Amravati or somewhere, I really don't know. I know about my neighborhood people, where I can sell my things. But I don't know what I can sell to South Africa, or for that matter to Venezuela. I just don't know. So perhaps the time has come that we have to make this possible for the SMEs, number one. Number two, the technologies. You will be happy to know that recently, last November, Honorable Prime Minister made some historic announcements for the MSME sector. Amongst many such announcements, which were essentially to ensure smoother credit flow, to have better market access. The public procurement policy now, now the CPSEs and the government have to procure at least 25% of their total procurement from micro and small enterprises. And for the first time, a 3% window has been reserved for the women entrepreneurs. Apart from the earlier that 4% for entrepreneurs belonging to scheduled caste and civil tribe. Apart from that, one important thing that I would like to really mention, that we have some of these technology centers, tool rooms. I don't know how many of you know, I keep saying this at the cost of repetition. Some of our tool rooms, have been giving this handholding support to SMEs to manufacture different parts which were used in Mangalyaan. That is the kind of excellence, manufacturing excellence. And recently in the Chandrayaan also. So that is the kind of quality of manufacturing that some of these tool rooms or technology centers have been. And you'll be happy to know that government, when Honorable Prime Minister made that announcement amongst the 12, those historic key announcements, one of the announcements was that now government will be setting up 120 such centers, 20 large and 100 small, all across the country. Why? Because unless and until we have a technological outreach to the SMEs of this country, it will be very, very difficult for them to really come up and to access this information and this particular technology which are available, at some places. So this is a huge, going to be a huge intervention for the MSMEs. And there are many other things that, for example, as Dr. Raju has been saying this, has been advocating, that SMEs have to be told whenever they starts having some sickness by experts, by professionals, by associations. We keep talking to the associations, industry associations, to the professionals, that how many of your members actually know about all these different interventions, different schemes that Government of India and the state governments are doing. Now we are now compiling all those schemes, put them in one place, contact number, details, eligibility, so that somebody, and in different languages. It has to be made in 22 languages, so people can, anywhere in the country can know, okay, if I am working in the leather sector, what are the different schemes that my state government or Government of India is actually doing for me. Now this access to this information. So if an SME is experiencing some kind of a sickness, some kind of a problem, maybe these professionals, these industry associations, these export promotion councils, the experts, and people in the government, people in the, in those verticals who have been working like him, like bankers, can actually help them. Not necessarily to invest more money. Maybe that is required for better working capital, access or something. But what needs to be done so that they will be able to kind of change the situation that they have put themselves in. So it's a very good initiative. This has been also discussed by the RBI committee, the UKSINA committee, which was constituted by RBI, to make recommendations for the MSME sector. In fact, this particular thing I also discussed with Mr. UKSINA also, this your health clinic concept also. And now I guess a time has come when, as he very beautifully put it, it will be a reckoner for the new SMEs and a resource for others and a guidebook, and so it will indeed be like that. And I guess now that suppose it is kept in the digital form, maybe people can access anywhere in the country. And I would also suggest that we are also trying now. We have done a very small pilot where the academic institutions, because there are people who can do some projects on some SMEs. Why can't we send our academic, those students to go as a group of experts or something, go and find out, act like those doctors, who go and diagnose the problems and the disease or whatever. Why can't they do it? We can actually try to do that. And it need not be just the experts. It can be students also who are working. So this would perhaps be very helpful to expand this idea so that the bankers, the state governments, Government of India, the industry associations, everybody can know, and they can sort of they can know how to benefit not just from the book, but also from this very concept, so that if all of us we kind of say, for example, like we have these in the Pragati Maidan we are going to have from 14th of November, this, and similarly we have so many all across the country we have these fairs and exhibitions and all that. In fact, I would suggest maybe there as well, if these institutions like bankers and others, they can also, because there's a huge footfall there in SMEs come, and if you can tell them, and especially the industry associations, it will be of extreme help to them, and maybe the big associations can also, they can have their own, Dr. Raju can go and perhaps talk to their members as to what can possibly be done, so that, as they say, a stitch in time saves many. So if the problem can be nipped in the bud, then perhaps we won't have to shed a lot of tears in future. Thank you very much, Dr. Raju, for giving me this opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to really trying to figure out how quickly and how effectively we can get in touch with all the stakeholders, so that they can benefit from these ideas and wisdom, as you so rightly put it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Raju, now we are all waiting to hear from you.
Mahajan, Dr. Panda, Dr. Guru, all the invitees, panelists of the day, Mr. Govt and Mr. Kumar. I have been looking for this day for a very long time. Dr. Panda knows it. There are two reasons for this. One is, this book is an offshoot of my thinking of doing something in memory of a great bureaucrat, Mr. T.L. Sankar. And the moment I heard the news, because I was not there, unfortunately, to have the last looks of him, I was in Kerala. So that day I thought that I must do something in his memory. After coming back, I started scripting this because I wrote a number of articles. I thought I would leave them together and turn them into a book, which will be a reckoner for entrepreneurs and also a guide for policymakers, because people started thinking only of the past and the present. They have not been thinking about the future. That is the major weakness of the MSME sector, sir. None of the micro small enterprises have a vision for the next 10 years, 15 years where they are going to be. If at least, if I have a gathering of about 150 and 100 enterprises and ask them, not even 5 will come out of this. And this has been the pain point for me for quite many years. And that is what made me write this book. And I thought that people should really look at things, what they would be in future. Because they are creating an enterprise for future. They are not creating an enterprise for themselves, for their family. And that is where I thought that something should be done, and that is the output. Yes, sir, I really thought that something should be done to relieve the stress of the entrepreneur. I would not say sickness or incipient sickness. I think they are words that we can give up. We will say stress of the entrepreneur should be resolved, and it may be a headache, it may be a BP, we should not make it turn into cancer. And for that, we should not send him to Apollo Hospital, where a beautiful nurse treats him for a long time, where he would like to remain in the AC. But a clinic where he should be able to get resolved and come out very easily and faster. And at the same time, he would get continuing support and assistance, so that that stress will not recur again. So hand-holding is very important. So the whole purpose of establishing this clinic was this. And as I have been discussing very frequently, I would not like to deliberate more on that particular aspect, but I would like to say that MSMEs have been living in debt, perpetuated in debt and died in debt. Can we not move them out of this debt syndrome and put them on equity? And unfortunately, in this country, whenever equity is talked of, they think of only NSE, BSE, SME exchange. It is not participating equity with the micro small entrepreneurs. And that is what made me also think of organizing a panel discussion on that issue, sir. So that we will come out with some, type of a roadmap, I would say, for making this possible. Because in USA, small businesses, even before going to bourses, they are handholded by the firms, equity firms, for many years. And why we are not able to participate in equity of the micro small enterprises, and what should be done for that? I think that is where the focus will be there, sir, this afternoon. Since, in fact, I am extremely thankful to, after many attempts, I have been able to get that in Panda's time. And this would have happened a couple of months back, but we had to roll over. And then I am very grateful to you, sir, for your very valuable time this afternoon. Amidst a lot of pressure, I understand you. Now he is holding 2 portfolios. He is also Secretary Health. We can understand. The pressure one faces.
Health and industry.
Health and industry. And both are very tough areas, and he has a host of meetings lined up for the day also. And he works almost round the clock, and I wouldn't like to really take very much time off him, but I would certainly love for his blessings for this equity support for the MSC, sir. We should do on a different platter. I've been seeing announcement of UKSINA committee on the 5,000 crores, where the purpose has not been specified very clearly. And 10,000 crores fund of funds. Yes, sir. Fund of funds is there. These are some of the things that are coming in future. That means the country is seized of the future. As Bhushan said, yes, we are thinking of 5 trillion economy. Why 5 trillion? We can even move to 10 trillion by 2030. If at all we are going to work on, some initiatives where lakhs of enterprises in this country can latch to the equity as a support. Because they have been demolished by debt. Let me put it very, very frankly, sir. Because banks have really done a lot of harm to them. A lot of chartered accountants, with all due respect to them, they have also done equally good harm to them, I will say. Because they have been highly, unprofitable, made them unprofitable. So let us turn this entire thing into a different syndrome altogether. I'm sure MSMEs, we have been talking every forum for the past 30 years, MSMEs is the backbone of the nation. But then we have been really hitting the backbone like nobody's business. Right. And with the type of initiatives that have come off at the hands of Panda and his team during the past 5 years, we are very sure that the future of MSMEs is going to be brighter and brighter, and they will be shining all over the globe. With these few remarks of thanks, I must thank all of you who are here for having readily accepted my invitation to be here for this function and bless this venture. I thank you all very much. My particular thanks is that instantaneously, just he was in States, my friend Majan, and we lost touch with each other really nearly for about 10-15 years now.
Not that long. About 10 years.
10 years. And his Basics Foundation was where he has launched a bank. I was the founder director of the bank. Registered and license came in my name, and local area bank was started by him. And the moment I told him that this book needs to be launched, he said, "No, we will launch it at our institute. Do you have any objection?" "I don't have objection. I will take permission from Dr. Panda." and he readily agreed, and he gave the time. And so I'm equally thankful to him, and Mr. Rafi and his team who have put in a lot of effort in putting things together and making this evening a great success. I thank all of you for this. Thank you very much, sir. I will now request
In fact, I didn't want to say all that stuff because that's a work in progress. In fact, this matter was also discussed and the Kasina committee, which was constituted by RBI, here also, and ever since I joined here, the same issue has been really kind of, we have been thinking about it that there has to be some kind of an equity participation, and a lot of people have a lot of money. So now, how do they come? That process has to be finalized, and we are actually working out that process. And I don't want to tell you a lot of things because it will require approval at different places at different stages. But we are already working with this so that at least the kind of things that we are hoping to see, hopefully, we'll see them sooner than later. So at least that will be I think, a great help to MSMEs.
In fact, this is very interesting when we say that the equity participation and look for people who could invest in that. Immediately, what came to my mind, and that can actually be worked out, banks which are being bashed for whatever reasons in the last half an hour can also be made equal stakeholders and partners. Bank treasuries can be made to invest in SME stocks because so far there is zero exposure of bank treasuries in SME stocks. And as long as they are not stakeholders in this, they always go by the book. I mean, if an SME after getting listed, they would have cleaned up their books, or they've gone through the process. If they already have reached that stage, why would banks shy away from that? So that's one thing which
what they are working on.
precisely. Second is we say there is a lot of recession going on, but when you talk to the SMEs, not many of them are suffering. They have followed a very cautious approach. I mean, exactly the way you do in Telangana. We did one SME clinic in Ahmedabad, and we had almost like 100 SMEs over from all around, and not even one said. It's a closed door discussion, no media, so everybody poured their heart out. One good thing that came out of was that we are not suffering from this recession at all. What is hurting us is slow movement of all approvals that we ask for. If that can be speeded, we can become even better and offer more employment to people. We have not laid anybody off. These are the Microsofts of the world, these the Oracles of the world, or these large conglomerates. They are the ones who are sacking and giving pink slips, not the SMEs. They always have been cautious. And these are those baby steps which they take. Why is it that they meet up with a step brother or step mother issue? I'll give you one alternate example there. Recently, there was a chemical ban which was announced by China. So there was a huge opportunity for the Indian SMEs in chemical industry to fill up that gap. But due to regulations, they were not allowed to export. And that is an opportunity which has gone to Vietnam and Indonesia. So we lost out on a whole lot of foreign revenue. If that could have been taken care of, we would have been that much better off. Mind you, these are the SMEs which have the largest chunk of business in the chemical production in the country, not the large ones. These are the small and medium enterprises. Another example. We said that from tomorrow onwards there is going to be single-use plastic ban. So who's producing these single-use plastic? These are the SMEs. And when China did it, We always take the example of China when it comes to the economic progress. We talk of smart cities, we go to Barcelona and elsewhere in the world. They created an alternate avenue before shutting down the production of single-use plastic in the country, so that it would be a smooth transition from today when the operations come to the end of the day, and next morning when it reopens, it will be producing something else. Give them a chance. And majority of such businesses are located in Gujarat. And in a place called Dahej, when they were told go and set up there, it's right now a piece of land, not even developed. So how will one go and set up industry and start becoming operational? Why? Because tomorrow onwards, my lines producing single-use plastic are not equipped to do anything alternative. So per force, I have to move my business. I'm not going to do that. So those are the ones which are going to suffer. So these are certain nuances that we do not create, alternate opportunities for the SMEs, but for the large ones, they have multiple factories all across the country. यहाँ बंद किया, वहाँ चालू कर दिया. But for SMEs, it is not possible. So we suffer. While we are touted to be the largest contributor to nation's GDP, we are still given a stability. That should not be the case.
Thank you. We will now move to the panel discussion. May I invite Mr. Govt.